Hello, sweetheart, you magnificent, slightly overwhelmed soul. Let's get real for a second. You're here because something isn't working, right? You've been pushing, hustling, grinding, and it feels like you're trying to push a car up a hill with a wet noodle. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, and tried all the hacks. You've set intentions and maybe even said some affirmations that felt a little awkward. And yet, the struggle persists. It's like a persistent little gremlin living in the back of your mind, whispering, "You're not good enough. It's too hard. You'll never get there." I see you. I've been there. We've all been there. It's that feeling when you're caught in the undertow, kicking and fighting against the current, getting more and more exhausted. You're not just tired. You're soul tired. And before we get any deeper, let me just say this. The truth is so simple, it's almost funny. It's so simple, you'll want to laugh at yourself for all the years you spent making it so complicated. That's why we keep our videos short and to the point. We aren't about an hour or two of filler content. We're about getting straight to the heart of the matter, giving you a powerful, quick command that will change everything. We're here to give you the one little key that unlocks the door, not a whole construction manual. So stick around, because in a few minutes, you'll have a tool so powerful it'll feel like cheating. Now, let's talk about the real problem. The real problem isn't your job, or your bank account, or your relationship status. The real problem is the mental wrestling match you're having with the universe. You're in a state of resistance. You're saying, "I want this thing," but your subconscious is screaming, "It's too hard, I don't believe it's possible, I'll never have it." You're stuck in a tug of war, and no one ever wins a tug of war. The universe in its infinite wisdom sees your struggle and says, "Oh, you want more struggle? I can give you more of that. You're fighting? I'll give you something to fight." And so the struggle continues, a self-perpetuating cycle of resistance and frustration. So, how do we stop the madness? How do we get off the struggle bus and onto the express train to what we want? There's one simple command, one tiny little key that unlocks everything. Are you ready for it? The command is this: divine order is now established. Say it with me. Divine order is now established. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds a little woo-woo, a little too easy. And that's the beautiful part. It is easy. You see, the universe operates on a principle of divine order. Everything is already in its perfect place, flowing in a perfect way. Your job isn't to force things into place. Your job is to get out of the way and let the divine order happen. Your struggle is your attempt to rearrange the universe by force, and it never works. It's like trying to make a river flow uphill with a spoon. You're just fighting a natural current. When you say, divine order is now established, you're making a statement of faith. You're not asking, you're commanding. You're not hoping, you're declaring. You are saying, "I am not going to struggle. I am not going to fight. I am not going to worry. I am releasing this to the infinite intelligence that knows how to sort this out perfectly." It's like you're standing on the banks of a river, and instead of trying to push the water, you just step into the current and let it carry you. The moment you make that declaration, you are aligning yourself with the flow of good. The universe takes a deep breath and says, "Ah, finally, you're in sync. I can start moving mountains for you now." Now, let's get practical. How do you use this? You use it the moment you feel the struggle, the moment you feel the fear, the doubt, the worry creeping in. The moment you get a bad piece of news, or a bill you can't pay, or a project that seems impossible. Don't fight it. Don't fall into the spiral of, "Oh no, what am I going to do?" Instead, stop everything, take a deep breath, and say, out loud if you can, "Divine order is now established." Do it, even if you don't believe it yet. The repetition is what builds the faith. It's a muscle you have to flex. The more you say it, the more you believe it. And the more you believe it, the more the universe responds. This isn't a passive statement. It's an active surrender. It's an act of letting go of the reins and trusting a greater intelligence. You can't drive the car and tell the GPS where to go at the same time. You've got to let the GPS take over. Here's a little framework for you. Step 1. Acknowledge the struggle. Don't pretend it's not there. This feels awful. I'm so worried about this situation. Step 2. Make the command. Take a deep breath and say, "Divine order is now established." Say it with authority, not with a question mark at the end. Step 3. Take inspired action. This is the crucial part. After you make the declaration, you're going to feel an impulse, a nudge, an idea. It might be to make a phone call you were dreading. It might be to send an email. It might be to go for a walk. It might be to take a nap. Whatever it is, that is your inspired action. It's the universe's way of saying, here's your next step. Now just take it. It won't be a huge, complicated thing. It will be the next logical, simple step. That's the difference between pushing and flowing. Pushing is doing a million things you don't want to do, and flowing is taking the one step you're being guided to take. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're worried about money. The struggle is real. Bills are piling up. You feel panic. You could spend all day calling people, applying for jobs you hate, and stressing out. Or you could stop, take a deep breath, say, "Divine order is now established for my finances." Then, maybe you get an impulse to call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. You follow that impulse. And guess what? That friend says, "Oh, I was just thinking of you. I know someone who's looking for a consultant and your name popped into my head." That's the divine order. It's a chain of perfect events that you couldn't have planned in a million years. This works for everything: relationships, health, career, you name it. It's about getting out of the way. It's about being a receiver, not a pusher. The universe wants to give you what you want. You just have to stop blocking the signal with your fear and doubt. You have to put down the metaphorical boxing gloves and say, "Okay, I'm done fighting. I surrender. Let the good flow." So, here's your call to action. I want you to pick one thing in your life that you've been struggling with. One thing you've been pushing against. Right now. Seriously. Don't wait. And I want you to say, "Divine order is now established for insert your problem here." Then, I want you to pay attention to the little nudge, the small idea, the little whisper that comes to you. And just take that one small step. It might not seem like a big deal, but it's the first step out of the struggle and into the flow. You have the power to change everything. You just have to get out of your own way. You are a masterpiece in the making, and your life is meant to be a masterpiece of ease and grace. Stop fighting the masterpiece. Let it unfold. Now, if this simple truth resonated with you, and you want more of these quick, powerful insights without all the fluff, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're here to give you the keys, not the whole toolbox. And tell me in the comments below, what's one thing you're going to establish divine order in today? Share it with us, and let's create a community of people who are not just surviving, but thriving. I am so excited to see the beautiful, effortless life that is waiting for you. Go forth and establish some divine order.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into something truly foundational, the wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn. Her ideas, even though they're from decades ago, feel so incredibly relevant right now, especially if you're feeling, the pressure of modern life, things like financial worries, stress about work, or just feeling overwhelmed and maybe a bit lost. What she offers is this really compassionate way to see how your inner world, how it actually creates your outer reality. And this isn't some kind of wishful thinking, it's more like a practical spiritual law that can bring, well, real clarity and peace.
It really is fascinating. And you think about when she was saying these things. I mean, after a world war, heading into the Great Depression, talk about external uncertainty, circumstances looked bleak, truly hopeless for so many people. Yet she was there talking about this inner anchor, this grounding perspective. So, yeah, our mission today is really to unpack how her wisdom helps us shift that inner landscape. Because when that changes, the outer experience has to follow.
That inner grounding, yes, that feels so crucial. Florence starts with this really profound idea that there's a world inside you, and she says it's more real, more potent, even more permanent than the world you see with your eyes open. Maybe just take a second right now and gently consider that space, that silent, sacred space within. It's like this quiet, vast landscape behind your eyes. And Florence taught that this is the control room. This is where your reality gets shaped. In that stillness, you're not a victim. You're not just reacting to things. You're the dreamer of the dream. And here's the thing, she really emphasized this inner faculty. It's more powerful than just hustling harder, right? Which just leads to burnout. It's stronger than intellect alone, which can analyze things forever but doesn't really create. And definitely more powerful than willpower, which often feels like, pushing a boulder uphill. Just exhausting.
Exactly. And that powerful faculty, that control room, it's your imagination, plain and simple. But not imagination like idle daydreams, no. These visions, the ones you hold inside, they're like living blueprints for your destiny.
Yeah.
This isn't just a nice metaphor, it's a spiritual principle, like gravity. What you consistently hold in your consciousness, what you really feel is real inside, you will eventually hold in your hand. Every big shift starts there, with a clear inner picture, one that feels absolutely real. Florence called imagination a holy faculty, the workshop of spirit, even the womb of all creation, which, naturally, leads to the big question, doesn't it? If it's that powerful, how are we actually using it day to day?
Right, that's the million-dollar question. Because if imagination is the workshop, what's the rule? How does it work? Florence's core teaching is that the law isn't just getting what you want, or even only what you work for. I mean, look around. The world's full of incredibly hardworking people who feel stuck, right? Maybe that's you hitting that invisible ceiling at work or just constantly stressed about money, no matter how hard you try. The missing piece, according to Florence, isn't more effort, it's alignment. So, what does alignment mean? Simply put, you get what you are, your basic state of being, your, let's say, energetic signature, the feeling you carry inside most of the time. That's a direct reflection of what you consistently, faithfully imagine yourself to be. Your life right now is like a 3D printout of your deepest inner conversations and your most frequent mental images.
That's so crucial because honestly, most of us are creating completely by default. We're like these master painters, given this incredible power. And we're just splattering paint everywhere with worried thoughts, fearful projections. We paint these detailed scenes of arguments before they happen, or rejection, or lack. And then we stand back and wonder, why is my life such a mess? Florence was crystal clear. Every fear is a prayer in reverse. Think about that. To fear something intensely is actually an imaginal act, a very powerful one. Worrying constantly about your kids, you're wrapping them in that fearful energy, imagining not having enough money. You're rehearsing that. She also said, the imagination is the scissors of the mind. I love that. Imagine this infinite fabric of potential just waiting. And with every thought you charge with strong emotion, fear, anger, anxiety, you're cutting out patterns. Patterns of failure, loneliness, struggle, the scissors, the fabric. They just obey the design you hold in your mind's eye.
Wow, fear's a prayer in reverse. That just hits home, doesn't it? And the point isn't to beat ourselves up for having negative thoughts. That's impossible and frankly just adds more stress. It's about developing this gentle, compassionate awareness. Realizing you're not just some actor reading lines someone else wrote. No, you're the writer, you're the director, you're casting the whole show. And the good news, you can revise the script anytime. Just think for a moment, how has this maybe been playing out unseen in your own life? Lying awake at 3 a.m., heart pounding, planning for the worst case scenario. That difficult chat, the bills, the health worry, you're not just worrying, you're actively creating a negative blueprint. You're rehearsing disaster. Or when you keep replaying old hurts, that time you were betrayed or criticized or rejected, you're not just remembering, you're telling your body, telling the universe, keep this wound alive, keep this pattern going. We're actually experts at this unconscious creation, aren't we?
We really are. So the invitation, the shift, is to start using this incredible power deliberately, consciously. Let's make it practical. Say there's a woman and she deeply wants a loving, secure relationship, but her past is full of abandonment fears. Her work isn't just wishing for love, it's stopping the replay of those old horror films in her mind. It's consciously directing a new scene, imagining, feeling the simple safety, the quiet peace, being loved and celebrated for exactly who she is. It's about getting familiar with the feeling of being cherished, so that becomes her default state, her inner home. Or maybe it's a man stuck in debt. His mind automatically replays images of bills, fear, lack, his work, to consciously create a new inner atmosphere, to imagine the feeling of relief, all debts paid, logging into his bank account and feeling peace, feeling freedom, maybe even generosity. He doesn't need to obsess about the how right now. He needs to practice the what, the feeling of financial peace. This is that inner alchemy Florence talked about, changing your very essence, your core feeling state, And from that, a new world emerges.
Okay, that sounds amazing. But let's be real. Florence also talked about the tricky part, right? That space between planting the seed, holding that new vision, and actually seeing it sprout in the outside world. She called it the sacred lag time or the divine pause. Yeah. It's like you're that trapeze artist. You've let go of the old bar, you're flying through the air, but you haven't grabbed the next one yet. That moment, that void, it demands serious faith in what you can't yet see, and your logical mind, oh, will freak out. It'll scream, see, nothing's happening. This is stupid. You're just fooling yourself. If it'll point to all the proof, the bank balance hasn't changed, the phone hasn't rung, the symptoms are still there.
Absolutely. And your job, your sacred task in that moment, is not to believe that voice of doubt. It's to anchor your faith firmly in the reality of your new inner world, the one you're building with your imagination. You have to give more weight, more truth, more loyalty to what's happening within you than what seems to be happening without. And here's something really important to understand. What if things seem to get worse during this time? That can happen. And it's often what Florence's students called the holy demolition. As your inner vibration, your core feeling state, starts to rise as you feel more peace, more deserving, more aligned with abundance, anything in your life that doesn't match that new frequency has to go. Maybe a relationship that was based on codependency falls apart, or a job that was draining your soul suddenly ends, or even a health issue flares up to be cleared. From a spiritual view, this isn't failure, it's confirmation. The universe is clearing the ground for the new house you're building inside. Don't mistake the noise of demolition for defeat. It's the sound of progress.
That's such a powerful reframe the sound of demolition as progress, trusting that even when it feels chaotic.
Exactly. You have to cross that chasm sometimes with blind faith, holding on to nothing but the feeling of the reality you've chosen within. You're basically unbecoming everything that was never truly you, so that you can finally be who you were always meant to be.
Bringing it all together, then, Florence wasn't just teaching manifestation in a superficial way, she taught mental precision.
Hmm.
Most people, let's face it, create by default. We just react. We think the same worried thoughts day after day, feel the same fears, tell the same old stories about why things are the way they are, about money, relationships, work, and then we wonder why nothing ever changes. But the truth she revealed is that the world mirrors you. Your inner state is reflected back. So the key insight is when you consciously hold an image daily, deliberately, with feeling, with unwavering clarity, you start to shift the reflection. You turn the tide. Most of us wait for outer proof before we'll believe something is possible. Florence taught the exact opposite. You believe first. You imagine first. You act as if it's already true, even in small ways. And then the evidence shows up in your world. It's like inner engineering.
And it's amazing how many people have actually lived this. You mentioned Neville Guard earlier. He literally imagined holding his steamship ticket to New York, feeling the reality of being there, even with no money. And boom, the means appeared. His whole thing was living in the end. You don't chase it, you become it internally first. Or think about J.K. Rowling, single mom, on benefits, writing in cafes. But she had this incredibly vivid inner world, Hogwarts, that felt more real to her than her circumstances. 12 rejections for Harry Potter. But her inner reality, her vision, didn't waver. It just shows imagination creates reality. Isn't passive wishing, it's discipline. It's consistently giving more importance, more reality to your inner vision than to the outer facts. So imagine yourself showing up differently, calmer in that stressful meeting, more certain about your finances. Imagine feeling peace where you usually feel panic, abundance where you usually feel fear. You don't just visit this vision like a tourist, you learn to live in it. Because repetition builds belief. Belief shapes how you act. And how you act creates your reality. So the question really becomes, what are you feeding your subconscious mind today? Is it worry, doubt, and regret? Or is it vision, clarity, and peace?
So maybe the biggest takeaway from Florence Scovel Shinn is just how empowered we actually are. The power's been right here, inside us all along. The blueprint is in our minds, the feeling is in our hearts. It changes everything when you really grasp that, doesn't it? Imagination isn't just some fluffy, nice to have gift. It's a responsibility, it's profound. It's this sacred inner space where you get to rehearse your victory, not your defeat, especially around things that matter like your well being, your finances, your purpose. The tool is already in your hands. You are the creator.
The only question left is, will you use it consciously? And this isn't about just trying to feel good for 5 minutes. It's deeper. It's about becoming someone you truly recognize, someone you trust to handle life with grace, wisdom, and inner peace. So we really encourage you to continue this journey of intentional living, cultivating that inner world of peace and divine supply. And if this deep dive resonated, you'd like to explore this more visually, definitely check out the related video. You can click on the end screen or use the link in the description.
There is a law, unseen yet unfailing, which governs the flow of riches. To those who walk in harmony with it, wealth comes as naturally as the tide returns to the shore. Prosperity is not the result of chance, nor of mere effort. It is born of thought, of word, of conviction repeated until the unseen substance of spirit crystallizes into the gold and opportunity of this world. Every fortune that endures was first spoken into form. Every treasure was once an idea, whispered by the soul and confirmed by the lips. The mind is the workshop of abundance, and the tongue is its master craftsman. The wealthy do not merely work with their hands. They work with their words, shaping their destinies by declaring the truth of plenty before it appears. The daily affirmation is not idle speech, nor a wish cast into the air. It is the decree of one who knows that the universe responds to certainty. Wealthy men and women rise in the morning and command their world. They claim success, they affirm increase, they expect the best. They do not plead for riches, they align themselves with riches. For begging repels supply, but confident declaration draws it forth. Life is a mirror. What is held in consciousness is reflected in circumstance. When the lips speak words of abundance, the heart believes them, and the outer world hastens to obey. Poverty cannot cling to the one who declares daily, "I am rich in mind, therefore rich in life. The substance of spirit is my inexhaustible source." Such affirmations dissolve fear, sweep away doubt, and set the law of prosperity into motion. Every wealthy person, known or unknown, repeats some form of this truth. It may be spoken silently in thought, uttered aloud in the quiet hours, or written upon paper and carried close to the heart. But always, there is an affirmation, steady as the beat of the clock, proclaiming that wealth is theirs by divine right. The poor may toil endlessly, thinking labor alone will bring freedom. Yet without the affirmation of plenty, they bind themselves to scarcity. The wealthy, even when work is required, labor under a different law. They know that effort is only the channel, never the source. Their true source is infinite, unbound, eternal. Each affirmation reminds them of this, and wealth comes not as struggle, but as overflow. To repeat a daily affirmation is to plant a seed in the soil of the mind. With each repetition, the roots grow deeper, the stem stronger, until the harvest of prosperity must appear. Wealthy people know this law and guard their words as treasures. They speak not of loss but of gain, not of lack but of abundance, not of fear but of certainty. Thus, the daily affirmation is the invisible foundation upon which visible riches stand. To repeat it faithfully is to enter the same stream of power that has carried every prosperous soul to their fortune. It is the golden key, always available, waiting only for the lips to claim. I am rich now, and all that is mine comes to me swiftly, surely, and without end. Wealth begins with spoken word. The seed of every fortune is planted in the soil of speech. Before there was coin in hand, before there was property to claim, before the world knew the names of those it now calls prosperous, there was first the utterance of a word. The spoken word is the invisible brush that paints the canvas of reality, the unseen architect that drafts the mansion before stone or timber is laid. Words are the first currency, and they purchase the unseen long before the visible is obtained. Every declaration of abundance is a claim upon the vast treasury of spirit, and every denial of lack is a lock placed upon the doors of prosperity. Wealth does not fall suddenly from the skies, it is summoned. It answers to the sound of conviction spoken aloud, just as surely as an echo responds to the call of a voice across the valley. When one says, "I am prosperous," the universe bends to shape itself around that decree. When one proclaims, "Riches are mine now," unseen forces move to honor that command. This is not mere imagination, it is law. The spoken word is creative, and it does not return void. It carries within it the power of completion, the ability to draw substance from the invisible and press it into form. To the one who understands, speech is not idle chatter, but the very mechanism of creation. To speak wealth is to plant wealth, and to repeat it faithfully is to water the soil of consciousness until the harvest must appear. There is no wealth without the word. Even the most intricate enterprises, The grandest fortunes and the mightiest industries began with a spoken intention. Someone once said, "Let us build," and so buildings rose. Someone once declared, "This shall prosper," and so prosperity followed. The rich know that every word is a seed, and they guard their speech as carefully as they guard their treasures. They do not speak of failure, for to do so would invite it. They do not dwell on loss, for to name loss is to magnify it. Instead, they speak only of abundance, of success, of gain, of steady increase. Their words are ladders, lifting them ever higher into the realms of plenty. To those who understand, there is no difference between speech and manifestation. They know that once the lips release a word in faith, creation has already begun. Wealth is spoken first in the still chambers of the heart, then carried forth by the tongue to set the outer world in motion. The wealthy are careful to repeat words of plenty daily, for they know that repetition engraves truth upon the subconscious, and the subconscious directs the entire course of life. They speak until they believe, and they believe until it becomes. This is why one wealthy in spirit can lose everything in the material world, yet rise again with even greater fortune. Their foundation was not in possessions but in words, and from that foundation they build anew. Poverty, too, begins with words. The one who constantly laments lack will surely see it multiply. The one who declares, "I can never get ahead," has spoken their own prophecy. The universe is impartial, it delivers according to the decree it hears. Words of lack create lack, words of doubt create delay. Words of fear construct barriers. Yet the law is the same for all, and when the poor turn their words from despair to plenty, from defeat to dominion, their fortunes shift. The tongue is both the jailer and the liberator. It binds with words of limitation, and it frees with words of power. The wealthy understand that speech must be aligned with vision. To say, "I am rich," while secretly doubting, is to sow in barren soil. But to speak with conviction, to declare with certainty, is to set into motion an unstoppable chain of events. The words themselves are infused with energy, vibrating through the ethers, gathering substance, attracting people, opportunities, and circumstances that align with the declaration. A spoken word of wealth is a magnet, pulling to itself all that corresponds to its nature. This is why the wealthy often seem favored by fortune. It is not chance, it is law. They spoke before they saw, and so they now see what they once spoke. In the earliest scriptures, in the oldest wisdom, it was declared that the world itself was spoken into being. "Let there be," preceded all creation. If creation itself responded to the word, how much more will individual life respond when it hears the decree of prosperity? The wealthy imitate this divine principle by speaking into existence that which they desire. They know that silence may hold thought, but only speech releases thought into the field of power. To remain silent is to hold potential, to speak is to unlock it. Every morning is a blank page, and the wealthy begin by writing upon it with their words. They affirm life, they affirm abundance, they affirm their right to success. Each word is a brushstroke painting the day ahead. If they speak of blessings, blessings arrive. If they proclaim increase, increase unfolds. Speech is not merely description but command, and the wealthy wield it as such. They do not wait for the world to dictate terms, they declare their own. The power of the word is not lessened by disbelief from others. The wealthy know that their speech is personal currency, valid in the vaults of the universe regardless of public opinion. One may be ridiculed for declaring riches while pockets are empty, but the ridicule of others cannot cancel the law. The decree stands, and in time the evidence must appear. The rich do not look for approval. They look for alignment with the law of speech. To speak wealth is to awaken wealth consciousness, and wealth consciousness cannot help but attract riches. Words are the doorway into this state of mind. Each repetition chisels away at doubt and shapes the mind into certainty. Once the mind is shaped, life itself reshapes. The outer is compelled to match the inner, and the inner is commanded by the spoken word. Thus, the wealthy rise not because they were born into fortune, but because they spoke themselves into fortune. Affirmation aligns thought with supply. The mind is a field of limitless potential, a garden where every seed of thought takes root and grows according to its nature. Yet without direction, the garden becomes overrun with weeds of doubt, fear, and limitation. Affirmation is the gardener's hand, steady and deliberate, guiding thought into order, aligning it with the infinite storehouse of supply. To affirm is not to wish, but to claim. It is the act of placing thought upon the rails of divine law, so that the train of life runs swiftly and surely toward prosperity. When one affirms abundance, thought no longer drifts aimlessly among worries and appearances. It is anchored, secured, aligned with the truth that all supply already exists in invisible form. Affirmation says to the mind, this is the truth, hold to it, walk in it, become it. Every wealthy person understands that thought is power, but that power must be aimed. Affirmation is the aim, the bowstring that sends thought flying straight toward its target. Without it, thought is scattered, wasted in anxiety and contradiction. With it, thought becomes magnetic, drawing unto itself all that matches its frequency. The supply of the universe is endless. There is no limit to riches, no ceiling upon opportunity, no boundary around abundance. Yet one may live in lack if thought is misaligned. The mind that affirms shortage will experience shortage. The lips that declare difficulty will walk among difficulties. The one who continually says, "It is hard to prosper," will find proof of their words. This is why affirmation is not empty ritual, it is the very alignment of thought with supply. By repeating words of plenty, the mind is trained to dwell in the reality of plenty, and life becomes the mirror of that dwelling. The wealthy know that the unseen always precedes the seen. Supply is first an idea, an essence, an energy. Affirmation fastens the mind upon this truth and prevents it from straying into the illusion of lack. When appearances suggest there is not enough, affirmation speaks louder. There is always more than enough. When outer conditions show delay, affirmation insists, "My supply is swift and certain." In this way, thought is kept in harmony with the unseen abundance that is forever waiting to pour into form. Every affirmation is a declaration of identity. To say, "I am wealthy," is not merely to describe a condition, but to affirm alignment with the identity of wealth itself. The subconscious accepts such declarations without argument, and once accepted, it begins to shape experience accordingly. This is the secret the wealthy guard. They affirm not what they see, but what they choose to align with. They do not affirm their doubts, they affirm their destiny. And destiny obeys the direction of affirmation. Consider the one who rises daily and declares, "I live in a universe of lavish abundance. All that I need and more flows to me with ease." This affirmation is not fantasy, it is alignment. It instructs thought to harmonize with the truth of endless supply. It trains the inner eye to see opportunity where others see obstruction. It tunes the ear to hear possibilities where others hear only denial. Affirmation bends thought upward, and thought bent upward opens the gates of increase. Without affirmation, thought is vulnerable to the noise of the world. Every voice of doubt, every echo of fear, every suggestion of limitation creeps into the unguarded mind and plants seeds of scarcity. But affirmation is the shield, the daily decree that rejects intrusion and keeps thought steady in the vibration of wealth. It is repetition that carves new pathways in the brain, and those pathways become highways for prosperity to travel. The wealthy repeat their affirmations not because they doubt, but because they know the mind must be trained, just as the body is trained. Discipline in affirmation is discipline in thought, and disciplined thought aligns with the inexhaustible supply of life. The law is exact, thought and supply are one. To affirm lack is to cut the cord to abundance. To affirm plenty is to open the channel wide. The wealthy affirm daily because they understand that the flow of supply is constant, but it requires a receptive vessel. Affirmation enlarges the vessel of thought, stretches the consciousness, makes room for more. The mind that affirms, "I receive with ease," becomes a larger container than the mind that frets, "I may not have enough." And the law fills every vessel to its capacity. When one aligns thought with supply, Obstacles dissolve. What seemed like closed doors swing open. What appeared as difficulty becomes the very stepping stone to increase. Affirmation does not force the world to change. It changes the inner vision until the world must rearrange itself to match it. The wealthy know this. They speak their affirmations as calmly as they breathe, not begging, not demanding, but aligning. They know that alignment is power, and once aligned, supply cannot be withheld. The universe is impartial. It does not favor the rich over the poor, nor one soul above another. It simply answers to alignment. Affirmation is the act of tuning the dial to the frequency of abundance, and when the dial is set, the music of wealth begins to play. Those who affirm faithfully dwell in harmony with this music, and soon their lives dance to its rhythm. Affirmation is the daily practice of choosing truth over appearances. The wealthy practice it as one would practice an instrument, until their entire being resonates with the vibration of plenty. They do not waver, for they know that consistency builds momentum. A river carves valleys not by force but by constant flow, and affirmation works the same way upon the landscape of thought. Each repetition deepens the groove, until thought flows naturally into abundance, and supply follows thought unfailingly. Confidence attracts, doubt repels. The invisible currents of life move in harmony with the state of mind, and the state of mind is revealed by the tone of confidence or the weight of doubt. Confidence is a magnet, radiant and sure, drawing to itself people, opportunities, and resources that correspond to its certainty. Doubt is a shadow, heavy and dispersing, scattering possibilities before they take form, dissolving opportunities before they can arrive. The wealthy have learned that what one expects with confidence becomes, and what one entertains with doubt fades. Life is not swayed by hesitation, but it rushes to fulfill the firm decree of faith. Confidence speaks in the language of possession. It does not ask, "Will this be mine?" but declares, "This is mine now." In every transaction of wealth, whether seen or unseen, confidence is the currency that pays first. The one who is confident moves as though riches already belong to them, and the world responds accordingly. Doors open to the confident stride, while the hesitant linger outside. Those who doubt hesitate to knock, and hesitation leaves them waiting in corridors of delay. But the confident affirm their right to enter, and entry is granted. Every wealthy soul has walked the path of confidence long before the gold appeared in hand. They trusted the unseen law. They trusted the power of their word. They trusted that the flow of supply could not fail them. Their confidence aligned them with certainty, and certainty drew all provision near. Doubt would have delayed their journey, fear would have scattered their harvest, but confidence gathered it swiftly. For the universe loves the sound of a voice that knows. Doubt repels not because life is cruel, but because doubt is misalignment. To doubt is to send forth two opposing commands, one calling for increase, the other denying it. The law of abundance cannot operate under contradiction, just as a compass cannot point north and south at once. So the mind cannot attract wealth while doubting its arrival. The doubting word is like a seed dug up each day to see if it grows. It never has the chance to sprout. But confidence plants and leaves the seed to flourish, certain that the harvest is inevitable. Confidence is not arrogance, for arrogance seeks to prove, while confidence simply knows. Arrogance is brittle, easily broken by the winds of challenge, but confidence is steady, rooted in law. It does not waver with appearances, it does not falter at delay. It declares, "My supply is secure, even when the purse is empty." It proclaims, "All doors are open to me, even when no door seems in sight." And in time, appearances bow to the voice of confidence, for the unseen must shape itself around the one who knows. Every marketplace responds more swiftly to confidence than to talent, for talent hidden under doubt remains unseen, while confidence displays even the smallest gift as though it were treasure. Investors place their trust where confidence resides. Partners join forces where certainty shines. Customers gather where assurance radiates. Wealth flows toward confidence as rivers flow toward the sea. Doubt, on the other hand, scatters wealth as wind scatters leaves, for none wish to build upon a foundation that trembles. Confidence attracts not only opportunities but ideas. A confident mind is a receptive mind, open to inspiration, ready to act, eager to see possibility where others see impossibility. Doubt closes the gate of imagination, whispering that no path exists, no solution can be found, no chance is worth taking. But confidence keeps the gate wide, and through it flows invention, vision, strategy, and clarity. The wealthy hold their confidence not merely for show, but as a channel through which divine ideas can enter freely. Consider the one who walks into a room with doubt. Their shoulders slump, their voice falters, their eyes avoid meeting others. The atmosphere around them grows heavy, and even those present begin to withdraw, sensing uncertainty. Now consider the one who enters with confidence. Their step is sure, their words carry weight, their presence fills the space with expectancy. Immediately, others turn, listen, and respond. Nothing external changed between the two but the state of confidence within, and yet the entire outcome was transformed. Such is the magnetic law of confidence. Confidence is the soil in which affirmations take root. Without confidence, even the strongest words fall upon stony ground. To repeat, "I am wealthy," while secretly doubting is to plant seed in barren earth. But to speak it with confidence is to plant in fertile soil, where growth is swift and certain. This is why the wealthy guard their inner certainty as carefully as their treasures. They know that their riches flow first from the soil of belief, and belief must be strengthened daily by the practice of confidence. Confidence also dissolves resistance. Where doubt would shrink before obstacles, confidence presses through. Where doubt sees a wall, confidence finds a door. Where doubt turns back, confidence advances. Life favors the one who advances, for progress aligns with the forward movement of the universe. Confidence is movement, doubt is stagnation. Movement draws life, stagnation repels it. Thus, those who walk with confidence attract continual increase, while those who sit in doubt see opportunities pass them by. It is not circumstances that determine wealth, but the inner tone of expectation. Two may stand before the same opportunity, one doubting, one confident. The doubter hesitates, the moment slips and loss is confirmed. The confident seizes, moves, and multiplies. To the observer it appears that chance favored one and not the other, but chance was not the author. Confidence drew fortune near, while doubt repelled it. The law is simple, impartial, and unfailing. Confidence does not wait for proof, it creates proof. It acts as though abundance were already secure, and by that action abundance is secured. Doubt demands to see before it believes. But by the time it sees, the confident have already claimed the harvest. The wealthy understand that confidence is a bridge from the unseen to the seen. Without it, the bridge collapses and nothing crosses over. With it, wealth flows steadily into form. Labor is the channel, not the source. The great illusion of the world is that effort itself creates wealth, that toil alone brings prosperity, that endless hours of labor are the fountain from which abundance flows. Yet the wealthy know a different law, a higher law. They understand that labor is only the channel through which supply manifests, never the source of the supply itself. The source is infinite, unseen, inexhaustible, and eternal. Labor is but the vessel, the pipe, the means by which the invisible pours itself into visible form. Those who confuse the channel with the source wear themselves thin in ceaseless effort, yet their purses remain light. Those who align with the true source allow their labor to be guided, directed, and empowered, and thus they receive more in a day than others in a lifetime of toil. The fields do not produce harvest merely because men bend their backs beneath the sun. They yield because the invisible law of growth has been set in motion, and the labor of men is only cooperation with that law. A farmer may work endlessly upon barren ground and receive nothing. Yet another may labor lightly in fertile soil and receive abundance. The difference is not in effort, but in alignment with the source. The wealthy know that prosperity is not the wage of toil, but the fruit of consciousness. Labor simply gives shape to what has already been provided. One may see countless men and women laboring with all their strength, yet never tasting wealth. Their effort is sincere, their sweat abundant, yet their lives remain burdened by lack. Why? Because they look to labor itself as the source. They believe that by working harder, longer, faster, they will finally be free. But work without alignment is a wheel that turns without moving forward. It expends energy but does not create progress. Labor as the channel becomes fruitful when one first connects with the source through thought, affirmation, and confidence. Then each task, no matter how small, becomes charged with prosperity's current. The wealthy may labor, but their labor is not strain. It is guided action, purposeful and efficient, flowing from inner certainty rather than outer desperation. Their work is the channel through which the abundance they already affirm pours into form. They do not confuse the shovel with the gold. They know the gold was theirs before the shovel touched the ground. The work simply uncovers what the law of supply had already delivered. This is why the wealthy often seem to achieve with ease what others cannot with struggle. Their ease comes from knowing that labor is the channel, not the source. When one treats labor as the source, resentment follows. The worker feels enslaved, bound to endless effort, hoping for reward yet fearing lack. The wealthy feel no such bondage. They approach work with joy, knowing it is but the instrument, never the master. They may rest without fear, for rest does not cut them off from the source. They may change the form of their labor, for the source does not depend on any single channel. Their wealth is not chained to a job, nor to a business, nor to a market. These are only streams, and if one stream runs dry, the river of supply simply finds another path. The poor cling to the channel as though it were the only lifeline, saying, "If I lose this job, I lose my supply." The wealthy say, "My supply is infinite, and this job is but one expression of it." Thus, when change comes, the poor tremble while the wealthy adapt. Their security is not in the form of labor, but in the source behind it. This understanding frees them from fear, and freedom itself attracts more abundance. For fear closes the hand, while freedom opens it to receive. Labor without consciousness of the source is often wasted effort. One may spend years climbing a ladder only to find it leaning against the wrong wall. But when the source is acknowledged, labor becomes divinely directed. Ideas flow that save time, reduce effort, and multiply results. A single inspired action achieves more than years of drudgery. Wealthy individuals often credit their success, not to how hard they worked, but to how wisely they worked, how intuitively they acted, how aligned they remained with the invisible source of supply. Their secret is not greater sweat but greater awareness. Consider the sculptor who chisels stone. His labor is real, yet the form was already present in his vision. The source of the statue was not the hammer and chisel, but the idea that guided them. Likewise, wealth is not created by labor itself but by the vision, faith, and affirmation that channel the unseen into tangible form. Labor is merely the hand that frees what already exists in potential. Without vision, the hammer strikes blindly. Without source, labor is aimless. But with alignment, even the smallest task reveals hidden treasure. The wealthy approach labor with reverence, but never with fear. They see it as service, as cooperation with universal law. They pour their intention into it, but they do not worship it. They know they are not servants of work. Work is their servant. It is the channel through which their decrees are made visible. If one channel closes, another opens, because the source is inexhaustible. This attitude removes all anxiety, for the wealthy never wonder, "How will I make a living?" They know life itself provides. They simply ask, "Through what channel will supply flow today?" A labor as the channel brings dignity without bondage. It allows one to engage joyfully, to contribute meaningfully, to express talents freely. But the wealthy never measure their worth by the weight of their labor, nor their wealth by the hours they have given. They measure by the consciousness of abundance they carry, for that consciousness determines what labor will yield. Two men may perform the same task, but one returns home weary with little to show, while the other prospers with ease. The difference lies not in the task, but in the awareness of the source. When labor is understood as channel, it loses its burden. The wealthy may labor diligently, but they do not labor anxiously. They give their best effort, but they do not exhaust themselves in fear of loss. They know that labor guided by confidence and affirmation multiplies effortlessly. Their work is blessed because it flows with the current of supply. To them, work is a joy, a dance, a song of cooperation with the infinite, and in that joy, wealth multiplies beyond the measure of effort. Daily repetition anchors abundance. A single affirmation spoken once may stir the waters of consciousness, but it is daily repetition that carves the riverbed deep enough for the flow of abundance to become steady and unstoppable. The mind, like soil, must be cultivated again and again, for every day the winds of fear and doubt scatter their seeds. Without repetition, weeds return swiftly. With repetition, truth takes firm root, anchoring itself so deeply that no storm can uproot it. Wealthy individuals understand this law and treat their daily affirmations as sacred practice, knowing that each repetition strengthens the structure of their prosperity. Repetition impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious directs life. The conscious mind may waver, distracted by appearances of lack, but the subconscious receives only what is repeated with consistency. It accepts the decree without question and works tirelessly to bring it into expression. The wealthy train their subconscious by daily words of power, repeated until belief becomes natural. What begins as deliberate practice transforms into effortless conviction, and conviction is the soil in which abundance grows without limit. Each day is a blank canvas. What is painted upon it depends on the words spoken at dawn and throughout the hours. Those who repeat affirmations of wealth each morning set their minds in harmony with increase, and the day responds with opportunity. Those who speak of lack set the same law in motion, but in reverse. The wealthy know the importance of beginning each day with repetition, for it aligns their thought with the unseen flow of supply, before the world has a chance to whisper otherwise. Daily repetition builds momentum. Just as a drop of water falling upon stone eventually shapes it, so do affirmations spoken daily reshape consciousness. The first repetitions may feel mechanical, the words spoken without full conviction, yet persistence engraves them into the inner being. Soon, what once seemed like mere words becomes lived truth, and the outer world begins to conform. Wealthy individuals do not stop repeating when results appear, they continue, knowing that abundance is not a single harvest, but an ongoing stream. The anchor must remain, for the current of life is constant. Abundance responds to repetition because repetition trains expectation. To affirm daily that riches flow freely is to expect their arrival, and expectation is magnetic. The universe hastens to fulfill the expectation that is deeply held, and nothing holds expectation firmer than daily declaration. Those who neglect repetition drift with shifting moods, believing one day, doubting the next, attracting today, repelling tomorrow. The wealthy are steady, for their repetition steadies them. They speak daily until their expectation is unshakable. An unshakable expectation draws wealth unfailingly. The mind resists at first, for it clings to appearances. One may affirm abundance while the outer world shows lack, and the mind protests. This is not true. But daily repetition quiets the protest, teaching the mind to look beyond appearance and rest in truth. Slowly, the balance shifts, the voice of doubt grows weaker, the voice of faith stronger. In time, the affirmation no longer feels foreign but natural, no longer feels forced but inevitable. This transformation cannot be rushed. It is the fruit of repetition. Wealthy individuals treat repetition as discipline, much like one would practice music or exercise the body. They know the mind must be trained daily, for its natural tendency is to wander. Just as the body gains strength by repeated motion, the mind gains power by repeated affirmation. Each repetition is a weight lifted, a step taken, a muscle strengthened. The discipline may seem simple, but its results are profound, for once the mind is strong in abundance, consciousness, it becomes an unshakable magnet for prosperity. Repetition also refines clarity. At first, affirmations may be broad and general, but with daily practice, they sharpen. The wealthy may begin by affirming, "I am prosperous." But over time, the repetition expands into detailed vision prosperity in relationships, prosperity in health, prosperity in opportunities, prosperity in finances. Daily practice deepens understanding of what abundance truly means, until the entire life becomes a demonstration of overflowing good. Those who neglect repetition drift back into the old patterns of thought. The mind reverts to worry, fear, and limitation, and the flow of abundance narrows. But repetition keeps the channel clear, the vessel open, the consciousness alert. It is the daily brushing away of dust, the steady polishing of the mirror through which supply reflects. Wealthy individuals do not risk neglecting this practice, for they know that abundance anchored by repetition is secure, while abundance without it is fleeting. Repetition is not mere chanting of words, it is the rhythmic beating of a drum that summons the unseen. Each word repeated daily carries power, and with every echo, the vibration grows stronger. The wealthy repeat until their entire being resonates with the sound of abundance, and life cannot help but harmonize. It is not the length of a single affirmation that matters, but the consistency with which it is repeated. A few words spoken faithfully each day outweigh countless words spoken once and forgotten. Daily repetition anchors abundance because it builds familiarity. What was once extraordinary becomes ordinary, and what was once distant becomes close. To the one who affirms wealth daily, wealth feels natural, expected, inevitable. Life always delivers to the level of what feels natural, never beyond it. Thus, the wealthy repeat until prosperity feels as common as breathing, until success feels as certain as sunrise. At that point, abundance flows effortlessly, for the mind no longer questions whether it belongs. Repetition also shields against the outer world. Circumstances may attempt to suggest lack, voices of others may declare limitation, appearances may contradict the truth. But the daily anchor of repetition holds firm. The wealthy return to their affirmations as a sailor returns to the compass, unmoved by storms or shifting winds. They know that as long as the anchor is kept, the ship cannot drift far from the course of abundance. Each repeated word is a chain holding consciousness steady against the pull of appearances. Daily repetition aligns with the rhythm of life itself. The sun rises each day, the tides return each day, the heart beats each moment in steady repetition. Abundance responds to the same rhythm. Wealthy individuals mirror this universal order by repeating their affirmations daily, tuning themselves to the cosmic pulse of increase. They know that prosperity is not sporadic but continual, not occasional but constant, and so their repetition matches the very nature of the supply they seek. There is a law at work in this universe, a law as exact as mathematics, as certain as the rising of the sun. Many believe that winning the lottery is a matter of chance, a slip of paper drawn at random, a fortune that falls upon the lucky few. But I say to you now, nothing is chance. Nothing is luck. There is a divine design, a pattern that governs all things, and when the soul is attuned to it, what seems miraculous becomes natural. The lottery, that symbol of sudden wealth, of freedom and abundance, is not merely tickets and numbers. It is a picture of life itself. For the greatest lottery is not played with coins or cards, but with thoughts, with words, with the imagination. The secret is not to strive, not to labor, not to chase, but to listen. Listen once, and listen deeply, to the voice of intuition, the whisper of spirit, the command that comes not from fear but from faith. We live in a world where multitudes toil endlessly, believing that struggle alone will purchase their reward. They forget that true riches do not come by grinding effort, but by the effortless alignment of the inner self with the infinite supply. To win, one does not need to exhaust the body or twist the mind into knots of worry. To win, one needs only to surrender. The act is not doing but allowing, not pushing but receiving, not striving but standing still in perfect assurance. Think of a radio that hums with static until the dial is set to the exact frequency. Once tuned, the message flows with clarity. So it is with the mind and the spirit. The lottery of life is already won when the mind is tuned to harmony, to expectancy, to certainty of good. When you claim that which is yours by divine right, nothing can withhold it from you. Not men, not laws, not circumstance. The invisible forces arrange themselves in your favor, doors open, paths clear, numbers align. And that which seemed improbable is delivered with perfect precision. Do not be deceived by appearances. Do not measure your chance of success by the reasoning of the world. For the world says only a few can win, only the odds matter, only statistics rule. But Spirit says all things are possible, all supply is infinite, and what belongs to you cannot be lost. Listen once to that inner word, and it is enough. The moment you hear it, you need not chase, you need not doubt, you need not labor. The seed is planted, and it must bear fruit. So the lottery is not about chance but choice. The choice to believe, the choice to affirm, the choice to step into alignment with that which is already yours. And when you do, the universe responds, swiftly, surely, and without fail. The universe operates by divine law, not chance. This truth is the cornerstone upon which every seeming miracle rests, for what appears as accident or coincidence to the natural eye is, in reality, the precise unfolding of spiritual law. People often believe that events are scattered, that blessings fall at random, that some are favored while others are passed over. But the law is exact, and it never forgets nor overlooks a single soul. Just as the apple seed produces only apples, never pears or plums, so too does every thought, every word, every belief planted in the fertile ground of the subconscious produce after its kind. Nothing is arbitrary, nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. When we say divine law, we speak of that invisible principle that governs both the seen and unseen realms. Gravity holds the stars in their orbits and the planets in their courses. Electricity surges through wires and lights the world, whether or not one understands its mysteries. So too does the divine law govern supply, health, relationships, and every expression of life. It is no respecter of persons. It plays no favorites. It simply responds, unfailingly, to the vibrations we send forth, to the words we speak, to the expectations we hold. To the unawakened, this may appear as chance. One man prospers, another struggles, one woman receives, another waits, but the law is as impartial as the law of mathematics. 2 + 2 is 4, whether calculated by the scholar or the child. Many believe in luck, that mystical force that blesses the gambler or strikes down the unfortunate. But luck is only a word for ignorance of law. When one does not know the cause, one names it chance. Yet chance is a myth, a mask hiding the deeper order. Behind every event stands the law, quietly but powerfully arranging all according to consciousness. To align with this law is to move with the current of the river, to be carried swiftly and effortlessly to the desired shore. To resist it, or to remain ignorant of it, is to struggle against the flow, exhausting oneself yet gaining little. Consider the farmer who plants a field. He does not throw seeds into the air and hope that by some random stroke of fortune they might take root. He knows the ground must be prepared, the seed chosen, the soil watered, the weeds removed. He trusts that the law of growth will operate unfailingly. It would be absurd for him to fear that the corn might suddenly turn into thistles, or that nothing at all will sprout. He has faith in the process, not because he sees the roots beneath the soil, but because he knows the law is sure. In the same way, every thought is a seed, every spoken word a planting in the field of the unseen, and the law of divine harvest brings it forth unfailingly in due season. Those who do not understand this imagine the universe to be a game of chance. They think wealth is the luck of the draw, love is fortune's favor, success a matter of being in the right place at the right time. But those who see clearly know that these outer manifestations are simply the outpicturing of inner states. If the inner is aligned with harmony, abundance, and expectancy of good, the outer must mirror it. If the inner is clouded with fear, doubt, or resentment, then the outer will faithfully reflect the same confusion. The law does not judge, does not choose, does not punish. It mirrors, it reflects. It gives back to every soul exactly what has been impressed upon it, multiplied and magnified. Think of a mirror in the hand. It reflects the face placed before it. If one scowls, the mirror scowls back. If one smiles, the mirror smiles in return. Would it make sense to strike the mirror, to demand it reflect something else? Of course not. The mirror is impartial. It only shows what is given to it. So it is with divine law. It is the mirror of consciousness, the unfailing servant of thought. Whatever is imprinted upon it must come forth, not by accident, but by certainty. The beauty of this truth is that life can be directed, shaped, and transformed by aligning with the law. If one believes in chance, life appears chaotic, uncontrollable, unfair. But if one accepts divine law, then one recognizes the great power within. The ability to impress new patterns, to speak new words, to hold new images in mind until they are reproduced in form. To change the outer, one must first change the inner. To demand new results while continuing to hold old thoughts is as futile as planting thorns and expecting roses. The law will not be mocked. It brings forth after its kind, unfailingly, without exception. This is why some individuals seem to move through life with ease. They have attuned themselves, whether knowingly or unknowingly, to the higher currents of divine order. Their words are words of faith. Their thoughts dwell on abundance, their actions spring from trust rather than fear. The law, impartial and exact, responds by producing circumstances that mirror this inner harmony. Opportunities open, doors appear, people arrive at just the right moment. To the outside observer, it looks like luck, like fortune smiling without reason. But beneath it all is the working of divine law. Others, caught in the shadow of doubt and resentment, may labor with great effort and yet see little result. They may cry out at the injustice of life, believing themselves cursed or forsaken. But life cannot curse, nor does it forsake. The law simply reflects the state of consciousness. Just as a darkened window cannot let in the sun, so a mind clouded by fear cannot receive the radiant supply that is always present. The sun is still shining, but the shades are drawn. The supply is infinite, but the channel is blocked. Remove the block, lift the shade, and the light rushes in as if it had been waiting all along. Because it was. The idea of chance collapses when one sees the operation of law in every direction. Birds migrate with precision, tides rise and fall without fail. Seasons turn in their appointed order. Why should human affairs be the lone exception, ruled by randomness while the rest of creation moves by perfect law? No human life is governed by the same certainty. The difference is only in awareness. The bird obeys instinct without question, the tide yields to the moon without resistance. Humanity, endowed with choice, often rebels against the law through fear, disbelief, and misuse of thought. Yet even in rebellion, the law operates. To misuse it is to experience its effects in the form of limitation and struggle. To use it aright is to experience its effects in the form of harmony and abundance. When one grasps that the universe operates by divine law, not chance, a new confidence arises. There is no need to beg, to plead, to bargain with fate. There is only the need to align, to listen, to speak the word with faith, to hold the vision unwaveringly. Then the law, exact and unfailing, produces the result. To the outer eye, it may look like sudden good fortune, a windfall, an unexpected gift. But the awakened one knows it is the inevitable outworking of divine principle. The world may call it luck, but the soul knows it is law. True wealth comes through alignment, not struggle. Humanity has been taught for generations that only through effort, sacrifice, and constant toil can abundance be achieved. From the earliest days, the mind is trained to believe that to succeed one must push, labor, compete, and strain. As though life were a battlefield, and every good thing a prize to be seized through force. Yet this belief blinds the soul to the higher truth. That wealth in its truest form does not come as a result of endless struggle, but as a natural outflow of harmony, balance, and inner alignment with the inexhaustible source of supply. Look at the natural world and see how it teaches this principle without words. The flowers bloom not by straining, but by aligning with the sunlight, the rain, and the rich soil beneath. The river flows without struggle, winding its way with perfect ease to the ocean, because it is aligned with gravity and the contours of the earth. The birds fly across continents, guided not by maps or frantic calculation, but by instinct, the quiet alignment with the divine rhythm placed within them. Nowhere in creation does one see struggle rewarded. It is always alignment with the law of being that brings effortless fulfillment. Humanity alone imagines that effort and strain are the keys to abundance, when in truth they are but signs of disconnection from the divine flow. Struggle comes from fear. Fear whispers that there is not enough, that one must fight and claw for every morsel, that supply is limited, that one must take before another takes it first. Out of fear grows competition, anxiety, exhaustion, resentment. Yet fear is a shadow, and shadows have no power of their own. Fear is only the absence of faith, the denial of the infinite abundance that surrounds us at every moment. When one aligns with faith, struggle ceases. The same work that once felt heavy becomes light. The same path that once felt impossible becomes clear. For alignment is simply the recognition that supply is already present, already flowing, already sufficient for every need. Wealth, in its truest sense, is not merely the possession of coins, houses, or treasures, but the consciousness of supply. Without this consciousness, even vast sums of money bring only anxiety, fear of loss, and emptiness. With this consciousness, even the smallest seed of provision multiplies and grows into greater abundance. To align with wealth is to align with the principle that abundance is ever present, not something to be dragged out of life by force, but something to be allowed, accepted, and expressed. The soil does not struggle to produce the harvest once the seed is planted. The rain does not wrestle to fall from the sky. The law works silently, surely, and without effort. Many labor under the illusion that the harder they work, the more they will gain. They whip themselves into exhaustion, rising earlier, working later, pouring out every drop of energy in a desperate attempt to grasp wealth. Yet often they find themselves no richer, perhaps even poorer in spirit, health, and peace of mind. For work, when born of fear and struggle, carries no true prosperity with it. The energy poured into it is tainted by worry, and the result must reflect the consciousness behind it. On the other hand, those who are aligned with the principle of abundance often see wealth flow to them with little visible effort. Opportunities arise without struggle. Doors open as if by unseen hands, ideas appear with perfect timing. The difference lies not in the outer action, but in the inner state. To align with wealth is to live as though supply were infinite, because it is. It is to recognize that the source of abundance is not the employer, not the client, not the bank account, but the divine substance that flows through every channel. A person who is aligned with this truth may see wealth come through one avenue today, and another tomorrow, yet never fears, because they know the source remains unchanged and inexhaustible. When one identifies wealth with people, institutions, or circumstances, fear is inevitable, for these outer forms are changeable. But when one knows wealth as a divine principle, there is no fear, because the principle is eternal. Alignment requires trust, and trust is the great opposite of struggle. The child who trusts the parent's hand does not fear the path ahead. The seed that trusts the soil does not force its growth. The bird that trusts the wind does not struggle against it, but spreads its wings and is carried aloft. In the same way, the soul that trusts the divine source ceases from frantic labor and instead moves in harmony with inspiration, intuition, and inner guidance. Action still occurs, but it is no longer born of desperation, it is born of certainty. Work still takes place, but it is infused with joy rather than fear. Effort is replaced by flow, and wealth follows naturally, as surely as harvest follows sowing. This truth is not new. Throughout the ages, mystics, sages, and teachers have proclaimed that the kingdom of supply is within, not without. Yet the mind of humanity continually returns to the old belief in struggle, because struggle appears tangible, measurable, and within control. To sit in quiet alignment feels to the unawakened mind like idleness, like risking everything. But in reality, it is the highest form of activity. For it is the alignment of thought, word, and spirit with the inexhaustible law of abundance. Out of this alignment comes inspired action. Action that is swift, precise, and effective. A single step taken in alignment achieves more than 1,000 frantic efforts taken in struggle. Think of the archer who pulls back the bow. If the arrow is aligned with the target, it flies true with a single release. If it is misaligned, no amount of effort, no strain of muscle, no repetition of shooting will make it strike the mark. The alignment is everything. In the same way, one who is aligned with the principle of wealth strikes the target effortlessly. Wealth comes because wealth is already present, waiting only for the consciousness that calls it forth. One may labor endlessly, but if the inner state is out of alignment, the result will never satisfy. Wealth, when viewed rightly, is not a prize won by competition, nor a treasure hoarded by a few, but the natural inheritance of every soul attuned to divine order. It is the birthright of all, but it must be claimed through alignment, never through struggle. This alignment is not achieved by outer force but by inner surrender. Surrender of fear, surrender of doubt, surrender of the old belief that effort alone can secure abundance. Once surrendered, the soul rests in the certainty that supply flows continually. That wealth is as much a part of life as air and sunlight, and that struggle has no place in the life of one who is truly attuned. Listening to inner guidance is the only action required. The world is filled with voices, each clamoring for attention, each urging you toward one path or another, each insisting upon its version of truth. From childhood, the outer world trains the mind to listen outwardly, to authority, to teachers, to traditions, to opinions, to statistics, to the endless noise of the collective. Yet beneath all these voices, there is one quiet voice, a whisper that never shouts, a guidance that never forces, a certainty that never argues. It is the voice of spirit within, the still small voice that directs without confusion, without error, without hesitation. To hear it is to know the path, to trust it is to walk in peace, and to follow it is to discover that everything needed comes at the exact moment it is required. This inner guidance is not something to be manufactured, earned, or constructed through mental effort. It is already present, already flowing like an underground spring beneath the surface of thought. Most people, rushing through life in frantic pursuit of outer goals, never pause long enough to hear it. They fill their minds with plans, with worries, with endless analysis. They push and pull, trying to decide by logic alone what to do, where to go, how to act. And in doing so, they drown out the very guidance that would have led them effortlessly to the answer. For guidance is not found in struggle, it is heard in stillness. The more one strains, the more distant it seems. The more one surrenders, the clearer it becomes. Listening once is enough. The inner voice does not need to repeat itself, nor does it argue to convince. When heard truly, it carries a note of authority that no outer voice can rival. It speaks with simplicity, often in a single phrase, an image, a feeling, a knowing that descends without reasoning. One may be walking, resting, or engaged in ordinary tasks, when suddenly a clear direction arises from within. Call this person, go to that place, wait a little longer, step forward now. Those who have learned to trust this voice find that its instructions always lead to harmony, never to confusion. Even when the guidance seems illogical to the outer mind, it proves in time to have been perfect. Many dismiss inner guidance as imagination, chance, or wishful thinking, because they have been conditioned to revere only the rational, the measurable, the external authority. Yet the rational mind, though a faithful servant, is a poor master. It can analyze only what it knows, and its knowledge is limited. Inner guidance, however, draws from the infinite. It sees beyond appearances, beyond time, beyond circumstance. It directs not according to fear, but according to divine order. To follow only the rational mind is to walk in circles of limitation. To follow inner guidance is to walk the straight path toward abundance, health, joy, and peace. Consider the sailor navigating vast oceans. Without a compass or stars, he drifts aimlessly, subject to every wind and wave. With a compass, he is guided with certainty, even when clouds hide the horizon. Inner guidance is that compass within the soul. It points unerringly toward the highest good, even when outer evidence seems to suggest otherwise. When one obeys this compass, The storms of life cannot prevent arrival at the destined shore. One may not see the entire journey laid out, but step by step the path unfolds. It is not effort that brings success, but attunement. A musician may strike every note with precision, but if the instrument is out of tune, the song will not be beautiful. Another, with fewer notes, may play in perfect tune and the melody enchants. So it is with life. One may labor endlessly, but if out of tune with inner guidance, the result will be discordant. Another may act little, yet each action, perfectly aligned with guidance, produces harmony. The difference is not in the quantity of action, but in the quality of alignment. Listening requires silence. Not always outer silence, for the world may roar with activity, but inner silence. The quieting of the restless thoughts, the calming of the fears, the softening of the demands of the ego. When the inner noise is hushed, even for a moment, guidance is heard clearly. This is why it often comes in dreams, in moments of stillness, in walks through nature, in sudden flashes of intuition, when the conscious mind is relaxed. To cultivate silence is to open the channel for guidance. To live in constant noise is to miss the whisper of spirit. There is no need to strain to hear it. One does not force a flower to bloom by pulling at its petals. One does not command the sunrise by shouting into the night. One simply waits, watches, and allows. So it is with inner guidance. It arises naturally when the soul is receptive. A single moment of true receptivity can yield more direction than years of anxious planning. The outer world values ceaseless activity, but the inner world values attunement. One aligned thought is worth more than 1,000 misdirected efforts. Those who live by inner guidance discover that life becomes a series of effortless unfoldings. They are led to the right people at the right time, to opportunities they could not have created by force, to protection from dangers they could not have foreseen. What others call luck is simply the fruit of listening. What others call coincidence is simply the law of guidance operating with precision. To the world, their steps appear charmed, but the charm is only the natural consequence of alignment. Guidance is deeply personal. What is right for one soul may not be right for another. Outer rules, traditions, and conventions often impose a single path upon all. But the inner voice speaks uniquely to each. It knows the lessons required, the gifts to be expressed, the path to fulfillment that belongs to no one else. Thus, to follow blindly the outer crowd is to lose the way. To follow the inner compass is to walk the path of one's own destiny. Even when misunderstood by others, the soul that follows its guidance walks in peace, for it knows it is aligned with truth. Often, the inner voice directs in ways that seem small, simple actions, gentle nudges, quiet impressions. Yet when followed, these small instructions lead to great unfoldings. A chance meeting opens a door, a delayed departure avoids danger. A sudden idea becomes a source of abundance. Looking back, one sees the intricate weaving of events, each thread placed by unseen hands, each step guided with precision. And all of it began with the willingness to listen once, to trust the whisper rather than the noise. To listen is the only action required. The outer action that follows is secondary, a natural extension of the inner obedience. Without listening, action becomes scattered, ineffective, born of fear. With listening, action becomes powerful, precise, and fruitful. The difference is vast. One may expend enormous energy with little result, while another, hearing the inner voice and acting upon it, achieves with ease what others could not gain with endless labor. The law of guidance makes no mistakes, for it is rooted in the infinite wisdom of spirit. What is yours by divine right cannot be withheld. This truth stands like a mountain, unmoved by storms, untouched by time, certain as the rhythm of day and night. Every soul enters this world with a design, a portion of good prepared, a path laid out in perfect order, that which belongs to you. Your supply, your opportunities, your place, your joy, cannot be taken by another, cannot be lost to chance, cannot be delayed except by your own disbelief. For divine law is exact, and what has been decreed for you from the foundation of being is secure. The world, blinded by appearances, tells a different story. It whispers of scarcity, competition, and loss. It declares that one must fight for position, grasp for opportunities, and guard against others who might take what little there is. Yet all of this is illusion, born of the belief that good is limited. Good is not limited. Supply is not finite. The universe is not a marketplace of scarcity, but an endless ocean of abundance, and every soul has its appointed share, a portion that no one else can touch. Just as no two snowflakes are alike, no two destinies are the same. What belongs to you is marked with your vibration, your consciousness, your name, and it comes to you unfailingly when you are aligned to receive it. Consider the acorn. Within it lies the blueprint of an oak. No other tree can grow from that acorn, and no force of chance can make it into a pine or a willow. Its destiny is sealed within its very being. So it is with each soul. The design is already present, the pattern already written. You may doubt, you may delay, you may wander from it through fear or disbelief, but the blueprint remains unchanged. At the right moment, under the right conditions, the oak emerges. In the same way, what is yours by divine right waits patiently, never stolen, never diminished, simply awaiting your recognition and acceptance. Many look at the success of others and feel envy, believing that someone else's gain is their loss, as though life were a limited table, and only a few may eat their fill. But this is a lie of appearances. The good that belongs to another is not yours, and the good that belongs to you is not theirs. Each has their appointed portion, and no one can claim what is not theirs by law. The only reason people fail to see their supply is that they have closed the door through doubt, fear, or resentment. When the door is opened through faith, recognition, and gratitude, what is yours rushes in as though it had been waiting just beyond the threshold all along. Imagine a key cut for a single lock. It fits no other. You may carry it for years, wondering what it opens, but when you find the door that was made for it, the fit is perfect. So it is with your divine right. No other soul can open your door, nor can you open another's. What is yours is secure until you are ready to claim it. You cannot miss it when you walk in faith, and no hand can withhold it, for it was never given into another's keeping. It remains in the care of the divine law, waiting only for your alignment. The error of the human mind is to believe that others hold the power. People look to employers, to governments, to markets, to circumstances, and imagine that their good depends upon these shifting forms. They fear rejection, they fear dismissal, they fear that someone else's choice can deprive them of what they need. But in truth, no outer person or condition has power to give or withhold. They are only channels through which supply flows. If one channel closes, another opens, for the source is infinite and the law is unfailing. To cling to one channel in fear is to forget that the source itself cannot be exhausted. What is withheld is never truly withheld, it is only redirected. Sometimes the delay of a desired thing is not a denial but a protection, a guiding hand steering you toward the greater portion that is truly yours. If you received what was not in your pattern, it would not bring joy but heaviness, not freedom but burden. The law protects by ensuring that only what is yours by right will reach you, and it waits until you are in harmony to receive it. To the impatient mind this may appear as lack or delay, but to the awakened soul it is seen as perfection. For when the good arrives, it arrives in its completeness, without sorrow, without struggle, without regret. Think of a river carrying countless drops of water to the sea. Each drop finds its way, not colliding in chaos but flowing in harmony with the current. So it is with the good prepared for every soul. It moves by unseen currents, finding its rightful destination. No one else's abundance can block yours, no one else's path can cross out your own. The river does not lose a drop, and the divine law does not forget a soul. The current is exact, the flow is sure. The sense of loss, the belief that something has been taken, is only illusion. Even when outer appearances suggest that opportunities have been missed, relationships lost, wealth squandered, the truth remains that what is yours by divine right cannot be taken. If a door has closed, it is because it was not your door. If something has departed, it is because it did not belong to your pattern. The law makes no mistakes. That which is truly yours cannot leave you, and that which leaves was never truly yours. When this is understood, fear dissolves, resentment vanishes, and peace takes the place of striving. When one accepts this truth deeply, life becomes free of competition. There is no need to grasp or to guard, no need to envy or resent. For no one can touch your portion, and you cannot touch theirs. Each walks in their own pattern, and the universe is rich enough for all. This realization turns the heart from bitterness to blessing, from struggle to serenity. One can rejoice in another's good without fear. Knowing it in no way diminishes their own. In fact, rejoicing in another's good opens the channel wider for one's own. For it aligns the soul with the vibration of abundance, rather than scarcity. Every desire that arises in the heart has its counterpart in supply. The desire itself is the sign that its fulfillment is already prepared. The only question is whether the soul will align to receive it. The law does not withhold, but the human mind can block by disbelief. To believe that something can be taken away is to shut the door. To know that nothing can be withheld is to swing the door wide. The shift is subtle, but its effects are profound. The moment one stands in certainty that their portion is secure, life begins to rearrange itself to deliver it. Paths open, people appear. Circumstances align, and what seemed lost returns in higher form. The lottery of life is won through faith, not statistics. The world loves to measure, to calculate, to predict outcomes based on numbers, probabilities, and charts. It is taught that success belongs to those who study the odds, who weigh the risks, who calculate every step in terms of likelihood. Yet in the unseen realm, where true creation takes place, the law does not move by probability but by certainty. Faith is the certainty of things unseen, the assurance that what is claimed in spirit must appear in form. Numbers may declare the chance to be 1 in millions, but faith knows that there are no odds in divine law. There is only alignment, and alignment overrides every statistic. Statistics belong to the realm of appearances. They study patterns of the past and project them into the future, assuming that life is mechanical, that events repeat themselves according to the same limited rules. Faith belongs to the realm of spirit. It looks not backward but inward, not to history but to truth, not to averages but to divine order. Where statistics say something is nearly impossible, faith says it is already done. Where statistics declare limitation, faith declares infinite supply. Faith does not ask, what are the chances? Faith says, what is mine by divine right is mine, and nothing can withhold it. It is easy to see why people cling to numbers. Numbers seem solid, measurable, dependable. They give a sense of control to the rational mind, which fears uncertainty. Yet numbers can only describe the surface of life. They cannot govern the depth. They describe appearances but do not dictate outcomes. Faith is not bound by appearances. Faith speaks from the deeper law, the eternal law, which is not subject to the rise and fall of statistics. When faith is exercised, outcomes emerge that confound the probabilities, that seem impossible to the rational observer, yet inevitable to the one who believed. The lottery of life is not about tickets or drawings. It is about the unfolding of good in every area: health, love, success, abundance, joy. The outer world insists that these blessings are won by chance, that some are lucky and others are not, that the odds are stacked against most. Faith knows better. Faith knows that life is not a gamble but a law. Faith knows that what is claimed in consciousness must manifest, regardless of how small the odds appear. Faith does not concern itself with being one among millions, for faith understands that the universe bends to the individual who stands in certainty. Faith is not wishing. Wishing says, I hope it might happen if the odds turn in my favor. Faith says, it is already mine, and I thank the universe for it now. Faith does not bargain, does not beg, does not plead with chance. Faith affirms, declares, and accepts. Faith does not tremble at the statistics of illness, poverty, or failure. Faith says, I am one with infinite health, infinite wealth, infinite success, infinite joy, and nothing can separate me from it. Where numbers suggest danger, faith proclaims safety. Where reports declare impossibility, Faith insists on possibility. The world calls it foolish to ignore statistics, but the soul knows that what is unseen governs the seen. There have been countless stories of those who defied every probability, who succeeded when every expert declared failure, who lived when every doctor declared death, who prospered when every chart declared ruin. To the rational world, these are anomalies, exceptions, lucky breaks. To the awakened, they are proof that faith transcends statistics, that the unseen law overrules the seen. What is called luck is simply faith in operation, whether conscious or unconscious. Faith does not require detailed knowledge of how the outcome will arrive. It only requires certainty that it will. The farmer does not know the exact movements of every root beneath the soil, yet he trusts that the seed will grow. He does not calculate the odds of germination based on statistics, he trusts the law of growth. So too does faith trust the divine law, knowing that the good already planted in spirit will rise into form at the appointed time. The mind that insists on statistics demands proof before believing. Faith believes and then sees. The one who waits for numbers to confirm their good will wait endlessly. But the one who believes first will see results that leave the counters and calculators astonished. Faith is not blind. Blindness is ignorance, a refusal to see truth. Faith is sight of the invisible, a seeing beyond appearances into the deeper reality. It is the certainty that the unseen is more real than the seen, that the eternal is stronger than the temporary, that the divine law is firmer than human prediction. When faith takes hold, fear evaporates, because fear is rooted in the shifting sands of appearances, while faith stands on the rock of eternal law. Fear trembles at statistics, faith walks calmly through them, untouched. There is a quietness in true faith. It does not shout or argue. It simply knows. It rests in assurance, even while the world panics over probabilities. It is like the calm of the sea beneath the waves. The surface may roar with storms of numbers, odds, and risks, but beneath is the stillness of certainty. This calm radiates outward, influencing circumstances in ways that seem miraculous. The doors that were closed swing open. The opportunities that seemed unlikely arrive with ease. The blessings that seemed improbable appear in perfect timing. Faith is the great equalizer. Statistics divide people into categories: the few who succeed, the many who fail, the privileged and the disadvantaged, the lucky and the unlucky. Faith dissolves these divisions. Faith says, all things are possible to the one who believes. Faith does not measure background, circumstance, or probability. Faith stands in the center of infinite possibility and calls forth what it desires. Where statistics declare separation and limitation, faith declares unity and abundance. The lottery of life is not won by calculating the odds but by stepping beyond them. Every soul has access to this power. It does not belong to a select few, nor is it dependent upon education, position, or heritage. It belongs to all who dare to believe. The moment faith is exercised, the so-called odds collapse, and the law of certainty takes their place. What seemed improbable becomes inevitable. What seemed distant becomes present. What seemed reserved for others becomes personal. In every area of life, the choice stands between faith and statistics. One can live bound by numbers, forever fearing the odds, forever chasing the unlikely, forever submitting to averages. Or one can rise above appearances, listen to the inner voice, and claim what is theirs with unshakable assurance. The one who does so finds that life ceases to be a gamble and becomes a certainty. Every step is guided, every need supplied, every desire fulfilled, not by chance, but by law. Faith is the law in action, the unseen hand arranging all things with precision, regardless of what the outer numbers may say. There is a divine current flowing beneath the surface of all things. A golden river of supply, success, and power. And only those who believe, those who know in their hearts they are destined, will tap into it. This message, dear listener, is not for the doubters, not for the fearful, and certainly not for the faithless. This message is a top secret revealed only to those prepared to receive. This message will only find future millionaires. The universe does not withhold, man withholds himself. Prosperity is not created, it is claimed. And so, I speak today not to the masses, not to the common mind, but to the elect, the chosen, those with vision clear enough to see the invisible and faith firm enough to feel the intangible. If you are here, hearing this, then the law is already at work. You were not called by chance, you were summoned by power. You are rich now, not someday, not when conditions improve, not when the stars align. You are rich now, for you are one with the source, and the source does not know lack. The source only knows abundance, expansion, overflow. What you hold in consciousness, you hold in hand. What you expect with certainty, you experience in form. That is the law. Many walk the world declaring poverty, and the law, impersonal and perfect, gives them more of what they claim. But you are not like the rest. You are no longer a beggar at the gates of fortune. You are its heir. You do not chase money, for money follows vision. You do not struggle, for you command. You do not compete, for you create. What others call luck, you will call alignment. What others call coincidence, you will call confirmation. The doors that once seemed shut will now swing open. The people you need will appear, and the ideas you've been seeking will rush forward like a mighty wind. You do not need to push, you need only to know. Every word spoken today is a seed, and if your soil is ready, your harvest will be miraculous. But hear me clearly, this secret only reveals itself to those who believe before they see, who give thanks before they receive, who walk as millionaires before their bank accounts catch up. It is not arrogance. It is awareness. You are not becoming successful. You are awakening to the success that was already yours. So I say again, this message will not find everyone. It cannot, but it has found you. And that means only one thing: the law is working, the tide is turning, and the future millionaire is you. Prosperity is claimed, not earned. This truth runs deeper than logic and defies conventional thinking. For centuries, humanity has been conditioned to believe that wealth is something to be earned through toil, sweat, competition, and long, weary effort. People are taught from early on that money must be chased, that riches must be deserved through labor and sacrifice. But the ancient law, the spiritual law, reveals something radically different. Prosperity is not something to be earned. It is something to be claimed. To earn suggests struggle. To claim suggests authority. To earn implies waiting, working, hoping. To claim implies receiving now, boldly, with full trust in the unseen. The child of the infinite does not grovel at the feet of life hoping for favors. The child of the infinite speaks the word, and the supply responds. Just as the light appears at the flick of a switch, so too does prosperity flow the moment it is believed. This claiming is not done with fists or force. It is not loud or frantic. It is silent, calm, and absolute. It is the quiet confidence that what is yours cannot be denied. It is the spiritual poise that comes from knowing the law cannot fail. Most people speak of earning in terms of worthiness. I must work to deserve more. I must suffer to prove I am valuable. But this mindset is born of fear, not faith. The truth is, your mere existence makes you worthy. You are an heir to limitless riches because you are one with the Creator. You need no permission from the world. You need only permission from your own mind. When a king's child walks into a room, he does not question whether he belongs. He does not wonder if he will be fed or clothed. He does not ask if he is allowed to speak. He knows who he is. He claims his place. And yet, many who are children of the Most High walk through life as spiritual beggars, hoping, praying, pleading, never realizing they already possess the keys to the kingdom. Prosperity is not a reward for hard work, it is a state of consciousness. A millionaire mindset does not begin with dollars. It begins with thoughts, with beliefs, with declarations of truth. One who is aligned with divine supply does not wait for conditions to improve. They improve their consciousness, and the conditions follow. The outer world is only ever a mirror. It reflects your inner certainty, or your inner doubt. There are those who work tirelessly, day and night, with calloused hands and burdened hearts, and still remain broke. Then there are those who appear to move with ease, whose wealth flows without visible effort. Why? The former are earning, the latter are claiming. They have accepted the truth that the source is unlimited, that what they require already exists in the invisible, and that their faith brings it to pass. The moment you release the idea that prosperity is tied to human effort alone, you free yourself. You release the chains of competition. You step off the treadmill of proving and pleasing. You stop measuring your worth by hours, wages, and titles. You realize your wealth was never outside you. It was always within. Words are tools of claiming. Every time you say, "I am prosperous," you are planting a flag in spiritual territory. You are saying to the universe, "I see it, I know it, I welcome it." And the universe, impersonal and exact, responds to your declaration. It does not reward suffering, it mirrors belief. That is the law. The subconscious mind does not understand begging. It understands instruction. It does not act on desperation. It acts on faith. So if you speak of lack, if you identify as broke, if you obsess over how little you have, you are not just describing your world. You are creating more of it. The law works whether you know it or not. And it works by agreement. You cannot experience wealth while constantly affirming poverty. Claiming is not arrogance, it is alignment. When you claim something that is yours by divine right, you are not stealing. You are returning home. You are stepping into what has always been waiting for you. You are simply saying, "I now receive what has always been mine." The door was never locked. You only needed to knock with belief. The one who claims does not beg, they bless. They give thanks in advance. They do not wonder how it will happen. They know that how is not their work. Their only job is to declare the truth, to walk as though it's done, to hold their faith steady while the seen catches up with the unseen. They understand that money is not a god to be served. It is a servant to be directed. It is not sacred in itself. It is a form, a symbol, a tool. You do not get prosperity by earning favor with people. You receive it by standing in alignment with spiritual law. As long as you place your faith in circumstances, in bosses, in economies, in markets, you are leaning on the wrong source. These things may be channels, but they are not the source. The source is infinite. The source is unchanging. The source responds only to faith. To claim is to expect. To expect is to prepare. When you claim prosperity, your life begins to shift in anticipation. You start making room. You release what no longer serves. You stop tolerating anything that contradicts abundance. You stop settling for crumbs. You stop explaining away your limits and start rewriting your story. You begin to walk like one who has already received, not someday, now. The mind that claims does not doubt. It does not entertain fear. It does not ask for permission to thrive. It does not concern itself with who approves. It does not shrink to fit the mold of mediocrity. It stands tall, speaks boldly, and moves forward with power. It no longer apologizes for wanting more. It understands that more is natural, growth is divine, and expansion is sacred. Every act of claiming sends a ripple into the ethers. It tells the universe this soul remembers who they are. And when you remember, everything begins to return to you. Ideas come, people show up, doors open. Not because you earned them, but because you were finally ready to receive. The one who claims does not wait for evidence to believe. They believe, and the evidence arrives. They do not argue for their limitations. They declare their liberation. They do not look around to see if it's working. They look within and know it already has. The moment you stop chasing prosperity and start claiming it, you switch from struggle to flow. You move from effort to ease. You go from hoping to knowing. And in that shift, everything changes. Faith precedes manifestation. This is a law as certain as gravity, as exact as mathematics, and as timeless as the soul itself. Nothing appears in the outer world until it is first formed in the unseen, within the deep silence of belief. Faith is the blueprint, the mold, the magnetic force that draws form to formlessness. Before the million is held, it is believed. Before the house stands, it is seen. Before the business succeeds, it is known. Faith always comes first, and manifestation always follows. The world teaches us to wait for proof before we believe. It says, "Show me the money, and then I'll believe I'm prosperous." Show me the love, and then I'll believe I'm worthy. Show me the opportunity, and then I'll prepare. But spiritual law flips this thinking entirely. It says, believe, and it shall be done unto you. Not when the circumstances align. Not when everything makes sense. Now. First the faith, then the form. The invisible always births the visible. The soil of the subconscious accepts only what is planted with conviction. You cannot sow doubt and reap certainty. You cannot speak of fear and expect miracles. Faith is the inner atmosphere where creation is born. It does not need to see results to be confident. It knows results are inevitable because the law cannot lie. When you step into true faith, the universe becomes your partner, your servant, your echo. What you declare in the silence, it fulfills in the scene. Most people confuse hope with faith. Hope wavers. Hope wonders. Faith acts. Faith is a substance. It is creative power moving through thought. Faith moves the unseen realm into alignment with your command. Hope may wish for good, faith expects it. Hope stands outside the door unsure. Faith walks through the door as if it has already been opened. Faith speaks in present tense. It says, it is done. It is mine. It is here now. And the law responds accordingly. The moment you believe without needing external validation, you begin to create with speed. The delay is never in the supply, it is in the faith. The source is always ready, always full, always overflowing. It is the receiving mind that must come into harmony. When your belief becomes unwavering, when your imagination becomes so real you can taste the results, then what you see in consciousness must appear in form. That is not philosophy, it is law. Faith does not consult the senses. It does not ask the bank account for permission. It does not check the calendar, or the economy, or the mood of others. Faith stands above facts. Facts are changeable, flexible, temporary. Faith deals in truth, and truth is eternal. Faith is not intimidated by lack, it sees lack as illusion, a temporary misalignment of energy. Faith corrects, realigns, restores. It sees what others call impossible and says, it is already done. Manifestation is never about force, it is about alignment. And alignment begins in thought, in belief, in the quiet certainty that what you want wants you. When you believe with your whole being, when your word matches your vision and your heart matches your word, the result is inevitable. It must come. It cannot stay away. The law is mechanical in its perfection. It does not care if you are rich or poor, good or bad, ready or unready. It responds only to your belief. The mind trained in faith no longer waits for conditions to change before changing itself. It creates the change from within. It no longer needs guarantees or reassurance. It stands firm, unshaken, declaring what is not yet seen as though it were already here. It sees beyond appearances. It does not flinch at delay or denial. It knows those are illusions of time. Faith operates beyond time. It brings tomorrow into today. It makes the invisible real. And once it is real within, it must appear without. This is why gratitude before receiving is one of the highest forms of faith. To thank before the gift arrives is to say, I know the law. I know the source. I know that what I ask for is already on its way. That energy of certainty is magnetic. It draws form to it. It turns vibration into experience. Every time you declare, I already have it, and feel the truth of that statement, you accelerate its arrival. The doubter delays their good. They stand at the threshold of the miracle and ask, but how? They look at the world through the lens of fear. They analyze, they resist, they shrink. And the law, never failing, gives them more of what they believe, more waiting, more questioning, more evidence of lack. But the faithful do not ask how. They understand that how is not their responsibility. Their only job is to believe, to hold the vision, to feel the result, and to act in accordance with that inner truth. Every great transformation begins with a decision. The decision to believe. Not because there is proof. Not because someone else said it was possible. But because you have chosen to align with a higher truth. You have decided that your word has power, that your mind is creative, that your desires are divine instructions. Faith is not passive, it is power in motion. It builds empires, moves mountains, parts seas. And it does all this silently, invisibly, in the stillness of the soul. The faithful person no longer identifies with failure, with lack, with waiting. They identify with abundance, with readiness, with success. They walk like it's already theirs. They speak like it's already done. They plan like the resources are already provided. And in doing so, they align themselves with the only force that creates the unseen power of belief. The world may call it delusion, but those with vision call it reality. For everything that has ever existed, every invention, every fortune, every miracle, began first as faith. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe. You can speak affirmations all day. But if your core belief contradicts your words, the law listens to the belief. That is why inner work is essential. You must train your mind to expect what it desires. You must saturate your thoughts with the vision until it becomes more real than current reality. You must walk through your days as one who is already living the answered prayer. Faith is not a feeling. It is a decision. Feelings come and go. Faith stands firm. You may feel fear, but still choose faith. You may see obstacles, but still choose faith. The choice is everything. Faith is mental discipline, spiritual certainty, emotional commitment. It is choosing, moment by moment, to trust the invisible more than the visible. To see yourself as the millionaire before the money arrives. To see yourself as the success before the world agrees. To know it is already done, because you have already believed. You are already one with infinite supply. There is no separation between you and the abundance of the universe, except the illusion your mind may have accepted. This truth is not a theory, not a nice idea, but a spiritual law that governs all creation. The same force that causes the sun to rise and the flowers to bloom flows through you now. The same intelligence that created galaxies created you, and it did not place you here to lack, struggle, or go without. Infinite supply is not something you reach for. It is something you awaken to. It is not far off in the distance. It is within, waiting for recognition. There is no outside source. That is the first illusion to be released. The world may present channels, jobs, clients, investments, ideas, but none of these are the source. They are expressions of the one source, and that source is spiritual, limitless, and ever-present. You are not dependent on a person, a company, or an economy. You are connected to something far greater, and that connection is unbreakable. Even if you feel cut off, even if you experience lack, the truth remains unchanged. The supply is always there, like electricity waiting for the switch to be flipped. It does not disappear. It only waits to be claimed through awareness. You are not a being trying to get more, you are a being of abundance, rediscovering what you already possess. The seed does not need to be told how to become the tree. The pattern is already within. The same is true for you. Your success, your wealth, your creative power. It is already encoded in your spiritual DNA. You do not need to force it into being. You need only to remove the blocks that obscure your vision. Lack is not real. It is a misinterpretation of truth. It is what occurs when the mind looks away from source and begins to believe in limitation. The great spiritual masters understood this. They did not ask the world for permission to prosper. They knew who they were. They saw the supply within and trusted it so completely that the outer world could not help but respond. When you fully accept that you are already one with infinite supply, your entire experience begins to shift. You stop chasing. You stop striving. You begin to operate from a place of knowing rather than needing. The energy of lack disappears, and in its place arises a calm certainty, a spiritual authority that nothing and no one can shake. This oneness with supply is not something to be earned. It is your divine inheritance. The idea that you must work hard enough or suffer long enough to deserve wealth is a human invention, not a spiritual law. The truth is, your abundance was established the moment you were created. The only requirement is recognition. What you recognize, you realize. What you accept inwardly, you will experience outwardly. The universe responds not to effort, but to alignment. When your consciousness aligns with the truth of your oneness with supply, manifestation becomes natural, effortless, and constant. You may ask, if I am one with infinite supply, why do I feel lack? The answer is simple: you have believed in separation. You have looked to the world for proof of abundance, rather than anchoring yourself in the knowing that abundance is your nature. As within, so without. If your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, your outer world will mirror those beliefs. But if your inner world is grounded in the truth of oneness, in the calm assurance that everything you need is already present in potential, then the outer world must align accordingly. Infinite supply does not mean excess for the sake of excess. It means fullness, sufficiency, perfect provision. It means knowing that whatever is needed next will appear, often in ways you could not have planned. It means letting go of the need to control and stepping into the power of trust. When you trust the source within, you stop micromanaging your life. You stop fearing the future. You start allowing the flow of supply to meet you exactly where you are, exactly when needed, with exactly the right expression. This state of awareness does not come through force. It comes through surrender. It comes through stillness, through the quiet repetition of truth, through the discipline of choosing faith over fear. It comes from training your thoughts to align with what is real, not what is visible. The world may show temporary appearances of lack, but you must not give them your agreement. The moment you agree with lack, you empower it. But the moment you withdraw your agreement and return to the truth, I am one with infinite supply, you begin to dissolve the illusion. This oneness is not just spiritual. It is practical. It means ideas will come when you need them. It means resources will appear often unexpectedly. It means the right people, opportunities, and pathways will be drawn into your experience without struggle. You do not have to know how. You do not have to figure it all out. You only have to remain connected to the truth that you are not alone, not cut off, not lacking in any way. You are plugged into the source of all that is. You are the branch connected to the vine, and the vine never runs dry. Money, clients, solutions. These are not outside things to be fetched or chased. They are extensions of consciousness. They are drawn to you by your vibration, your certainty, your receptivity. When you raise your awareness to match the frequency of abundance, these things begin to flow. It may start subtly, like a new idea or a small opportunity. But as you continue to trust the supply, the flow increases. It becomes a stream, then a river, then an ocean. The only thing that ever limits it is your willingness to receive. Affirm daily that you are one with infinite supply. Say it before the world shows you proof. Say it in the silence. Say it when doubt arises. Let it become the foundation of your identity. I am one with infinite supply. All that I need is already provided. I live in the flow of divine abundance. These are not empty words. They are spiritual instructions. They are reminders to your subconscious of the truth it once knew and may have forgotten. Each repetition reprograms the mind, rewires belief, and expands your capacity to receive. You do not have to be perfect to experience this truth. You do not have to be enlightened or special. You only have to be willing to accept that the source of all wealth already resides within you. That you are not here to beg life for crumbs, but to command your good through the authority of spiritual law. That you are not an outsider trying to get in, but a rightful heir returning to your natural state of abundance. Every desire you have is already matched by a supply. Every vision is already funded by the invisible. Every dream is already possible, because the power that makes all things possible lives within you. What you speak, you create. This is not poetic metaphor or philosophical suggestion. It is the foundation of spiritual law. Every word uttered with belief becomes a seed planted in the garden of consciousness. Your speech is not mere communication, it is creation. It is command. It is instruction to the invisible forces that govern all form. The tongue, though small, holds power beyond measure. With it, you either declare your abundance or reinforce your lack. Every sentence, every phrase, every idle remark sends out a vibration, and that vibration attracts its equivalent in form. Your words are the builders of your world. When you say, I can't afford it, You are not describing a condition. You are assigning one. When you say, "Money always flows to me," you are not merely being hopeful. You are activating a law. There is no neutral speech. The universe does not interpret your tone or your mood. It responds to your declarations. The subconscious mind, which shapes your reality, accepts every word you impress upon it. It does not filter, question, or analyze. It only obeys. In what you repeat with feeling, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you experience. Most people speak carelessly, unaware that their words are casting votes for their future. They speak of problems, of delays, of struggle, and then wonder why their life reflects those things. But the law cannot be mocked. It is exact, unbending, and precise. If you want to change your life, you must begin by changing your vocabulary. Eliminate the language of lack. Refuse to participate in conversations of fear. Decline to speak words that contradict the life you are creating. You cannot talk poverty and expect wealth. You cannot complain and expect blessing. You cannot gossip and expect peace. When you speak, you send out a decree. That decree is a mold, and the creative substance of the universe rushes in to fill that mold with form. If your words are strong, clear, and aligned with truth, the result will reflect that. If your words are chaotic, fearful, or weak, the result will reflect that as well. This is not personal. It is law. And the law always responds to what is affirmed consistently. The key is not only to speak positively, but to speak consciously, knowing the power of every word that leaves your mouth. There is a sacredness to speech. In the ancient traditions, words were understood as spells, utterances of energy that shaped reality. The word, bracadabra, comes from a phrase meaning, "I create as I speak." This is not myth. It is spiritual technology. Every affirmation, every declaration, every statement is either moving you closer to your desires or further from them. And because most people speak on autopilot, they reinforce cycles they secretly want to break. But the moment you take control of your tongue, you take control of your destiny. Speak only that which you desire to experience. This does not mean ignoring facts. It means choosing which facts to affirm. A bill may arrive, but you do not say, "I'm always broke." You say, "My supply is unlimited and always meets every need." You may feel uncertain, but you do not say, "I'm so confused." You say, "Clarity is mine now. Divine guidance flows through me." These are not lies. They are higher truths. They are spiritual facts. And when you choose to speak them, you align yourself with the higher order of being. You cannot wait to feel good to speak good. The speech must come first. It is through speaking truth, even in the face of contradiction, that you begin to shift your emotional state and ultimately, your physical reality. When you wake in the morning and declare, "This is a day of wealth, power, and progress," you are setting the tone. You are calling things that be not as though they are. And if you persist, reality must obey. This power of speech is not limited to formal affirmations. It includes your casual remarks, your responses to questions, the things you say to yourself when no one is listening. If someone asks, "How's business?" and you say, "It's slow," you are affirming slow business. If instead you say, "It's expanding in powerful ways," you are affirming the expansion. Even before it appears. This is not about pretending. It is about choosing which version of reality you will support with your word. Many speak defeat and then pray for victory. They affirm lack and then hope for increase. They curse their day and then wonder why it is filled with frustration. But the power of creation has already been released through their speech. The prayer cannot override the constant declarations of doubt. To change the outer, the inner dialogue must be transformed. This means developing a new relationship with language, a reverence for its power, a discipline in its use, a consciousness in its direction. It is not enough to speak truth occasionally. The power lies in repetition. The subconscious responds to what is said over and over again, especially when charged with emotion. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes your inner soundtrack. Say it until your body, your mind, your atmosphere vibrate with the energy of that word. And when belief takes root, Manifestation follows without resistance. Be mindful also of how you speak about others. The words you send toward another return to you multiplied. If you criticize, you invite criticism. If you bless, you invite blessing. What you give in speech, you receive in form. Speak life into others, speak increase. Speak potential. When you see someone struggling, do not reinforce the struggle with pity. Affirm their power. Your word is not limited to your own world. It touches all it addresses. Use it wisely. Children especially absorb the words spoken around them. If you speak lack in their presence, they will inherit that vibration. If you affirm strength, wisdom, and abundance in their hearing, you sow seeds of greatness. The home should be a temple of speech, where only words that uplift, expand, and empower are allowed to take root. The same is true of your internal home, your mind. Guard it like sacred ground. The atmosphere around you is shaped by your speech. When you walk into a space, your words either raise or lower its vibration. Speak as if the world is listening, because it is. The universe is not interested in idle chatter. Every word counts. Every sentence shapes. You do not need to be loud. You need to be intentional. Speak softly if you wish, but speak powerfully. Let your words be arrows of truth, lighting fires of faith in your own life and in the lives of those around you. Language is a tool of dominion. When used with wisdom, it becomes a gateway to transformation. When misused, it becomes a snare. But the choice is always yours. You are never without the power to change your words. And the moment you do, you begin to change your world. Let your speech reflect who you really are. A creator, a master, a channel of divine power. Let it rise above complaint, above fear, above doubt. Let it become the sound of certainty, the vibration of vision, the music of manifestation. Let your word be law. This message is a calling, not a coincidence. There are no accidents in the realm of spirit, no random encounters, no meaningless moments. What appears as chance is, in truth, divine orchestration, a higher intelligence aligning events, conversations, and content to reach you at the exact time your soul is ready to receive it. You did not stumble upon this message by mistake. You were guided, drawn, magnetized by the silent pull of your own unfolding destiny. There is something within you, deep and ancient, that recognizes this truth. It may have been quiet, buried beneath layers of doubt or distraction. But it is awakening now. This is the call. Not everyone hears it. Many pass through life surrounded by signs and never notice. They are too consumed by the noise of the world, too distracted by appearances, too afraid of their own greatness. But you, something in you is listening. Something in you is responding. Something in you is rising. And that something is your true self. The self that remembers who you are and why you came. You did not come to struggle. You did not come to survive. You came to shine, to create, to lead, to prosper. And this message is simply a reminder of what your soul already knows. A calling is not loud. It does not shout or demand. It whispers. It nudges. It stirs you in quiet moments. It moves through synchronicities, through gut feelings, through repeated phrases that seem to follow you. It is persistent, not forceful. It waits for you to choose, not out of pressure, but from a place of recognition. You feel it when you hear words that spark something in you, when your heart beats faster at a vision, when tears rise for no reason other than your spirit saying, "This is it. Pay attention." This message carries energy, not just information, but vibration. And if it resonates with you, it means your frequency is rising to meet it. You are not who you were yesterday. You are becoming more aligned with your purpose, more in tune with your power. And so, the world around you begins to shift. You hear different voices. You notice new opportunities. You outgrow old patterns. It is not coincidence. It is confirmation. You are being prepared for something greater. You are being called forward, not someday but now. The timing of this message is not random. It arrives exactly when you are ready to cross a threshold. When you are on the edge of choosing between comfort and calling, between the familiar and the extraordinary. You may still feel unsure, you may wonder if you are capable. But know this, the calling only comes to those who are ready. It does not visit the unwilling. It does not appear to the unqualified. It finds those whose souls have already decided, even if the mind hasn't caught up yet. When a calling comes, it brings with it both a challenge and a promise. The challenge is to rise, to step into new responsibility, to shed old identities. The promise is that everything you need will be provided. Ideas, connections, strength, provision, clarity. Not all at once, but step by step. Each act of faith unlocks the next door. Each yes to the calling expands your territory. You do not have to see the whole path. You only have to take the next step. This message is a mirror, reflecting back to you the greatness you may have forgotten. It is reminding you that you are not average. You are not here to play small. You are not here to shrink in the presence of fear or bow to limitations. You are here to claim your inheritance, to walk in power, to live a life that reflects the fullness of your potential. The fact that these words resonate means your soul is ready to rise. It is time to stop waiting for the right moment. The moment is now. It is time to stop asking for signs. This is the sign. You may not yet know the full picture of what you are being called into. That's by design. If you knew everything ahead of time, you might try to control it, limit it, or talk yourself out of it. But the calling is bigger than your current understanding. It is unfolding through you, not just for your benefit, but for the good of others. Your prosperity, your success, your expansion. It is not just for you. It is part of a greater assignment. When you rise, you give others permission to rise. When you prosper, you demonstrate what's possible. When you answer the call, you break cycles, shift lineages, and create new realities for those who follow. The discomfort you feel now, the restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the yearning for more, is not something to be feared. It is the evidence of the call. It is your soul saying, you are ready for more. You are ready to become. You are being stretched not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to carry what's next. The friction is growth, the tension is transformation. Do not run from it. Move with it. Let it pull you into your next level. When you begin to see life through the lens of calling, everything changes. Setbacks become setups. Delays become protection. Closed doors become redirection. The calling gives purpose to the pain, clarity to the confusion, and meaning to the mess. What once felt random now feels divine. What once felt like failure now feels like formation. You begin to trust the process, not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. You understand that nothing is wasted, that every experience has prepared you for this very moment. There will still be moments of doubt. That's part of the path. But doubt does not cancel the call. Delay does not mean denial. The call remains steady, patient, unwavering. It will not force you, but it will not leave you alone either. It will continue to beckon you, to remind you, to whisper your name in the quiet of the night. And each time you respond, even in the smallest way, you come into greater alignment with your truth. There are people waiting for what only you can bring. There are lives that will be changed by your obedience to the call. You do not have to be perfect. You only have to be willing. You do not need all the answers. You only need to say yes. The rest will unfold as you go. The how will reveal itself in motion. This message is not meant to inspire you for a moment. It is meant to awaken something eternal within you. Something that will not sleep again. If you have ever felt out of place, if you have ever sensed you were meant for more, if you have ever felt the pull of something unseen, this is your confirmation. You are not imagining it. You are not wrong. You are not late. You are exactly where you are meant to be, hearing exactly what you were meant to hear. This is the message that finds the future millionaire. The visionary, the leader, the healer, the builder, the one who will not settle. This is not motivation. It is activation. This is the moment you remember who you really are and why you came. This is not just a message. This is the call.